He's tough as nails, tough as heck. I think he climbs the pocket and navigates the pocket when he wants to pretty well. The holdup for me with Shedeur, and I've said this, Ross, is it's the hardest evaluation that I've had to do with these quarterbacks in the 7 years that I've been in TV.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a teaching tutorial Thursday, presented, of course, as always, by DraftKings. The crown is yours. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years. Most of you know that. We get the teaching today from my buddy Dan Orlovsky, who does an outstanding job for ESPN and all their studio programming, as well as calling games for them. I had to get Dan's take on the quarterbacks in this draft. I know he says it other places, but I really enjoy his breakdowns. I know the time that he puts in. So looking forward to talking with Dan momentarily. I think you guys are going to really, really enjoy it. There's other news, though, going on in the NFL, including we know the 17 players. I think it's 18 now, actually, with Hairston, the corner from Kentucky, 18 players that will be attending the NFL draft. Always something interesting to note there, and I got something for you as far as that is concerned today. And then Travis Hunter is in the news on multiple levels. We've got one of the best offensive linemen over the last 50 years retiring, and the Bears keep signing their core guys for the long haul. I did not pick winners for today's show, but I will do that for Monday's show. So Monday we'll have Greg Cosell. He'll be wrapping up the draft series. We'll be breaking down the defensive backs, very important position, with Greg on Monday, and I'll have winners. That means somebody, one of you, that has done anything on social media, at Ross Tucker Pod or at Ross Tucker NFL, any comment or reply or repost or quote post or whatever, you got a great chance. Or you can just rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, screenshot, send it to me. That always works. And those of you that take advantage of any of our sponsors that you hear on the show, like the Game Time app or Huel, or just go ahead and go to youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. Make sure you click the subscribe button, make any comment. I'll record a video on my phone and email it to you, which people really, really like. It's Dan Orlovsky time. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
My brother from another mother, absolutely love me some Dan Orlovsky. People don't even know this. I was the first person that even got him in the media, told him what to do. He's mentioned it. He even gave me a shout out with his retirement announcement or whatever it was. I can't remember. Anyway, that is a long time ago now at this point, actually. How long have you been doing the media stuff now?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that as well. Shoot, dude, it's 2000. I think I started like 2018, spring of 18. So, I'm sitting on 7 years now, which is outrageous. Because it feels like it's gone quick. But then during the season, it feels like it goes incredibly slow. So, yeah, it's been awesome so far, man.
7 years. I remember distinctly talking about it with you while you were backing up Stafford with the Lions. And then you weren't sure if you're going to do media or you're going to play. And like the Rams signed you to be the backup. And then somehow they cut you, but said they were going to bring you back. Like that was I still remember like those conversations we had.
Yeah, the Rams story is it's the spring of 17, and I had known Sean McVay just playing, what's up, coach, all that stuff, and I was in Philly with my wife, and unknown what I was going to do at this point. I kind of leaned towards not playing. He called me and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna go to the Rams. I got this young quarterback, Jared Goff. I just need you to come and be a coach. You'll be our third quarterback. You will not take a single rep in training camp. You're not going to play in preseason games. We'll keep you on the roster. You're just going to help Jared." Because he's such a young and raw, talented player, but doesn't know a ton about like the football intellect and IQ and all that stuff. And so I said, sure. I go out there. I went like 3 weeks in training camp, did not take a single rep. I'm literally a coach on the field with pads. And then the final week, final preseason game, he's like, "Hey, you're going to play half the game." I'm like, "What?" Sean, I haven't played football in forever. I play in the game. I don't do, surprisingly great, or I was just very average performance. He called me in that week and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna go a different direction at quarterback three." I was like, "Sean, what's the deal?" And he was like, "Listen," he was great about it. He was great. We talked ball for like an hour, and I was kind of ready to be done playing anyway. So that's how that happened. And then, shortly thereafter, the TV stuff started.
That is wild, man. Yeah, they
Yeah.
can't. So if you'd played well in that half, you would have been there.
I don't think so. I think the plan was once once Jared started to maybe advance quicker than they thought in camp, because Jared, while he'd such from his college days, such raw football knowledge, I think once he really started to expedite it and Sean had a better feel, a kind of like how smart he was and how much information he was capable of handling. I feel like I became a little bit more expendable and the veteran became a little bit more expendable. And so I'm pretty sure Brandon Allen was the guy that they signed as their third quarterback. It was great because Sean was like, Sean basically cut me. And literally, Ross, for an hour after that, we just sat there and talked football. And I was sitting there like, yo, you just fired me. You basically ended my football playing life. And we're just talking ball. So, but Sean never my great thing about Sean was he never lied to me about it. He never tried to sugarcoat it. He never tried to like spin it a certain way. He was very black and white, very forward, and I'd always appreciate that about him, man.
That is amazing. All right,
Yeah.
let's dive into these draft guys. I got to get your take. I see you on social media and on TV, but nobody watches ESPN. People listen to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast or watch it. That's where they want to get their information. Do you have a clear number one guy? Because I know there's like a consensus out there, but I
Yeah.
never like to just assume that you have the same opinion as the consensus. I'm talking quarterback.
Yeah, clear number one for me is Cam Ward, and I would tell you this. So I've got my notes right in front of me, Ross. Obviously, like every year, watch every snap. I think the number one thing that surprised me about Cam was he was so much better inside of the pocket than outside of the pocket and or that I had anticipated. I had known he was a little bit of a creative player and maybe some wow plays outside of the pocket, but that was so much less of kind of what the tape showed. And so like I really like love this part about his game. Number one, he doesn't get fooled often. He's a really like smart guy with how he sees the way the field is playing out. I think the ball jumps out of his hands. Everyone's catchphrase word for that is twitchy, but the ball just jumps out of his hands and it happens quick. I often say, how quickly does a quarterback go from, yes, I want to throw this ball to the ball actually getting out of his hands? And I think that's a huge part of that position in the NFL. It jumps out of his hands. He doesn't hesitate, quick trigger. I also think for a guy that's kind of sometimes lives on the edge, he doesn't force the football all that often. Like he gets through stuff. And if the guy that, number one or number two is not there, he gets through his progressions. I think he's really strong, tying his feet in the pocket, controlled the line of scrimmage at times. There's moments where he makes you hold your breath either side. Like there's sometimes as a defense, you're like, oh gosh, this kid could do something special. Then as an offense, you're like, oh my goodness, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it type of thing. So he's got a little edge to his game. I think he works the middle of the field incredibly well, which is rare for college kids, and he's a really accurate thrower. Took some games over. The cons, like the stuff that gets you concerned about him, Ross, because I often say this, it's the warts, it's the flaws. You got to figure those out. He's not big. He's 6'2". If he was 6'4", maybe I'd feel like I felt like Joe Burrow type stuff. But so he's not a big guy. He's not overly creative athletically. He'll make some, like hold your breath plays where sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. And they ran a lot of the same stuff at Miami, so there's you're once you do that as a quarterback, it's not a negative, but you should be operating those really well because you're running them over and over and over and over again. And I think he doesn't have a great understanding of blitz defense. That'll have to change in the NFL, but yeah, clear number one.
Like, how good is he? Meaning last year's draft or other drafts, like what's your confidence level that he could have a Jaden Daniels type of year or that he's like last year with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and Penix and Drake May and those guys, like
Yeah.
where would he have stacked up for you against those guys?
Yeah, he would probably be somewhere after those big three, the Caleb, Jaden, and Drake, last year. So, Ross, so a couple things, but how good can he be? and I mentioned Joe before. I remember when Joe was coming out of LSU, I called the national title game for the simulcast. And Brian Callahan, who's the head coach of Tennessee, was in Cincinnati. I had him as a coach in Detroit. And I remember shortly after that game and studying Joe Burrow, I texted him, take Joe Burrow and don't think twice about it. Remember, that was the Chase Young year, and people were like, should the Bengals take Chase Young or trade back? Take Joe Burrow. Don't even think about this dude's going to be awesome. I don't feel that convicted about Cam Ward, but I feel closer to that than I had expected. I'll go back to last year. I said, dude, Chicago, take Jaden Daniels. Take Jaden Daniels and don't think twice about it. Again, I'm not that far off from that. I think he's got a chance to be a really, really, really good player. Top 5 at the positions, probably a stretch. But I think you're looking at a high-end starting quarterback for, a while in Tennessee.
Do you have a number 2 guy, Dan? A clear number 2 quarterback?
It's not clear, but I do have Shedeur at 2. But the way I've said it, Ross, is QB3 is closer to QB2 for me than QB2 is to QB1. I like Shedeur. I think Shedeur does a lot of good stuff on tape. It's hard to find stuff that you're wowed on tape. Like I'd go with my list of stuff that I liked Shedeur. Number 1, he rhythm, timing, and ball placement are really good. Not great, but they're really good. Rhythm, timing, ball placement. He's tough as nails, tough as heck. I think he climbs the pocket and navigates the pocket when he wants to pretty well. The holdup for me with Shedeur, and I've said this, Ross, is it's the hardest evaluation that I've had to do with these quarterbacks in the 7 years that I've been in TV, because 50% of his snaps are at or behind the line of scrimmage, it feels like. You just want your screen after RPO after screen after RPO. And so you're sitting there going, you're not taking a guy early because of that. While it's operated well, you're not drafted a quarterback early because of that. So half of his snaps throw away. A quarter of his snaps, the offensive line pass protection is so freaking bad that you're like, I don't care who you are, you're not doing anything with it. So then for me, I'm 25% of the snaps I get to really try to dive into and really figure out. And so there's good and there's stuff on tape that's good. The downside for me is, again, so much at the line of scrimmage. There's stretches of awful protection. I think he locked onto Travis Hunter often. Am I faulting him for it? No, because I probably would, but that's just something you got to figure out if you're drafting him. There's not a lot of oh my gosh, I talked about Cam Ward. The ball jumps off his hands. There's not a ton of that, okay? And that does matter in the league. It's not the only thing that matters, but it does when you're talking about the greats of the greats. I think he predetermines leaving the pocket often and too much. Again, I'm not killing him over that because the protection's so bad that he probably is sitting there going, all right, I got to figure out something here. I think he spins out to his left a ton. I mean, you've been around the NFL a long time. We don't see a ton of guys spinning out to their left that consistently well in the league. Got away with it a lot in college. I just don't think that's something. I mean, I'm not talking about once a game. It feels like 5 times a game he does that. And so, I think there's clips where I just sit there. I go, Ross, throw the ball. Please throw the ball. Throw the ball. Why aren't you throwing the ball? And so I think that's why it's such a hard evaluation, because part of me understands the circumstances. I think you just really want to dive into having those conversations with him if you're drafting him.
Yep, and I'm a big believer in quarterbacks that get sacked a lot.
Yeah.
Because you control that. You don't control the pressure, but you control whether or not you throw the ball away or get rid of it or not.
Yep.
So I think I've seen this on social media, but your third guy, who evidently is close to second guy, it's Dart, right?
Yes. Yep. It's Jaxson Dart. And he was the guy for me this year that was a little bit similar to Bo Nix last year. I remember last year watching Bo Nix's tape and actually sending a text to Field Yates. And I said, dude, Bo Nix's tape is a lot better than I anticipated. And he's like, yeah. I was like, he'd be perfect for Denver. And then this year, that's kind of how I feel about Dart. I went into it with, I guess, average expectations, and I watch his tape and I go, I really like his tape. There's a lot of Jalen Hurts in his game for me. The notes I have, number 1, every game I studied, I liked him more and more and more. Number 2, you see some wow athletic throws. He is a really dynamic, but kind of bull-like athlete. I think he gets through progressions just as good as anybody in this class. now. And this is again not a downside, but just the reality is Ole Miss was a place that they ran a lot of the same concepts. By the way, so was Jaden Daniels at LSU last year. So again, you want comfort level in those guys' ability to do that. I think he uses his legs when it's necessary, not as a crutch. Athletic quarterbacks sometimes they're just always running around. I did not see that a lot from him. I mentioned being a bull as a runner. This dude's a tough tackle. You could do quarterback run with him. He's just a tough tackle. I don't think he got given a lot of Ole Miss's offense. I think a lot of his throws are down the field, high risk, hard reward, challenging throws. There's not a lot of baked in stuff that is easy for the quarterback. And I think he can drive balls into the proper window on a consistent basis. My knock on him is this, Ross. I think he gets lazy with his feet, a little bit like Drake May out of Carolina last year, because they're so talented. So I think he gets lazy with his feet, and that hurts him at times with his feel in the pocket and his accuracy. I think that gets better once you dive in and really start to coach him and that stuff. And he ended the Florida game was a terrible ending for him. And I think that's probably the starting point if you're a team drafting him. Well, I want to go to the end of that Florida game because he played so well in the game and go, what happened here? Tell me why the decision making. But I'm very high on him. Yeah.
I'm a little surprised that Tyer Shough is not one of your top three, just based on other people I've talked to. When they describe Tyer Shough, it sounds like a young Dan Orlovsky. Like that's what they're talking about when they talk about Tyer Shough. But evidently you're not as high on him as the others are. What did you see from Tyler?
Yeah, hopefully a lot better than a young Dan Orlovsky because I was a fifth round pick and a backup. So I liked Shuck's tape. I did. I know. I texted Lewis Riddick, who's really been on high on Shuck, and I texted him after watching some of his tape, the Georgia Tech tape and the Notre Dame tape specifically, and I was like, I see what you're seeing. So I liked him. I liked the fact that one this year he was stressed a lot with stuff that he's going to be stressed a lot with at the NFL level, handling shifts, handling motions, going under center, running, having to, excuse me, controlled the line of scrimmage and in the run game, told the offensive line where to go to in the pass protection stuff. So he handled a lot of that, the play action stuff from under center. And that's just a reality of what most offenses are in the NFL. So I liked that. I thought he got sloppy with his eyes at times, at Louisville, where, I don't like when a quarterback goes left, right, left, or downfield, down, and then downfield again. So especially for a guy that's played a lot of college football, young dynamic athlete that maybe hasn't played a ton, you can see how you can develop that out of him, but he'll be 26 next year football season. So, having that, I didn't love out of that. I think he threw some really impressive balls down the field. His legs are a big part of that. I think he made some really consistent drops. You can tell his drop and his footwork has been something that has developed over the past couple of years. The only question I think it's fair to ask of him, Ross, is, and everyone uses that floor and that ceiling, but if you draft him and in 2 years he's 28, it's not that, oh my gosh, he's not going to play till he's 40. It's all right, well, how much better are we getting him? How much is he actually developing, or is he close to his end of development? Now, that doesn't mean he can't be a good starter in the NFL. I just think that's a question that's fair to, ask, is how much better are we going to get this player?
It's not about how long they'll play or the age. It's about how much upside is left there.
Yeah, how much growth and development are we going to get once he becomes a professional and he doesn't have class anymore and he doesn't have a limitation on how much time he can practice and he doesn't have all these different things that he's juggling as a collegiate athlete. It's okay. Well, when we get him in, 24/7 program at the age of 26, in 2 years from now, how much better is he going to be? Because that's what is so appealing of players that get drafted when they're young, and it doesn't always hit. Trey Lance and Anthony Richardson, it didn't hit for them, and it hasn't at least yet for Anthony. But I do think it's okay. How much better is he actually going to get?
Do you have time to give me 30 seconds on Milroe and Ewers? Okay, I know you're in between TV and all this stuff.
Yep.
30 I would love to just get your thoughts on Milroe and Ewers.
Yeah, so Milroe, absolute rocket ship with the ball in his hands. He's tremendously athletic, and you got to love that. I think he's got a big, powerful arm. I would love him to the Giants. Here's my pushback on Milroe. In the red zone, he's really bad. And for a dynamic athlete, that's weird because it should be easier for you because you're always the threat to run. That's going to have to improve a lot. You see him, Ross, at times battle the I'm an athlete, go take off and be a runner. Nope, I'm developing as a quarterback in the pocket. And I just think it's going to take time for him to get there, but there's so much physical talent. Quinn, I like Quinn. For me, my sticking point with Quinn has always been he's such a talented thrower of the football. He's so naturally gifted. And for a guy that has a really good arm, you very rarely see him rip a football. It's often a guide of the football. It's almost like Dylan Raiola in Nebraska, like a floating of the football. Dude, sometimes you in that league, to be really good, you got to freaking rear back and rip that sucker. And he just doesn't have a ton. I think he's capable of it. I just want to know why he didn't do it a ton in college.
Love it. Check him out on social media. He is the man, fitting me in among all his other obligations. Love him for it. At Dan Orlovsky 7 on social media. You probably all already follow him on social media as well. You obviously can check him out all over TV, radio, the whole deal over at ESPN. Thank you, dude.
Appreciate you, brother. Good to see you.
Jack, a buddy of mine has bought so much Labatt Blue Light that he got this incredible Labatt Blue Light mini fridge. Doing this buy beer, get gear at rewards.labattusa.com. How cool is that? He likes to drink Labatt Blue Light. He bought a bunch of it. He takes pictures of the receipts every time he goes. He uploads it to rewards.labattusa.com, and he just got a free fridge to load up with Labatt Blue Light. This is like a fairy tale type story.
Tuck's Takes.
All right, Ross, the NFL announced that 17 players will be attending the NFL draft next week in Green Bay.
So what's weird about that, by the way, Jack, is that is what they announced, and there's like graphics, and they said everything about it, right? But then I actually saw where Dane Brugler, our buddy from the Athletic, said that Hairston, the corner, Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky, also accepted his invite. He's expected to be a first-round pick. By far the most interesting one of the people that accepted their attending the draft is Jalen Milroe, the quarterback from Alabama, because most people do not expect him to go in the first round. Last year, 13 guys went to the draft, and they were all among the first 17 picks because, you know, those guys, if they think there's a chance that they're going to not go till the end of the first round, or maybe not at all in the first round, usually those guys don't go. So the decision by Milroe to attend the draft is fascinating. You know, it's like, Jack, you ever seen the movie The Princess Bride?
Yeah, if Andre Giant, yeah.
Yeah, nice, nice. Okay, so it's like when they're having that like when they're about to drink the poison or whatever, and he's like, "You think that I think that you think that I think." It's funny because you could look at it and say that on some level, you know, maybe Milroe knows something, and maybe someone said, "Listen, we're taking you in the first round," and that's why he's going to the draft, or maybe Milroe just wants other people to think that. Maybe Milroe wants people to think that he knows something that they don't know. So he's going to the draft hoping to use that as like leverage for someone to trade up and actually do take him in the first round. I mean, I think it's smart. You know, I mean, he might have to wait till the next day, but I think it's smart to at least try to plant that in people's heads. I like it, Milroe.
Speaking of the draft, Travis Hunter, he's in the news on multiple levels. He's having his Colorado jersey retired alongside Shedeur Sanders this weekend, and he also told a media outlet that he will not play football at all if he's not allowed to play both ways.
Right. So the second part of that, I'm never a big fan of people making comments that just aren't true, right? Like he's going to play football. I mean, he could very easily go to a team and they could say, we're going to have you focus on offense this year because that's what we need. That's where we think you can help us the most. What's he going to do? Quit football? No. So I don't even understand why people make comments like that are nonsensical. As far as the jersey retirement thing, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm most interested. What's the process, right? Does David Bakhtiari have his jersey retired? I think someone said Cordell Stewart doesn't have his jersey retired. I guess I'm just curious, what's the process? Who decides that? In the NFL, it's the owners, okay? In college football, is it the AD? Is it the head coach? Who decides that these guys get their jerseys retired? I don't really care that much either way. I guess I'm just curious as to what the process is. And it seems to me like it's cooler if you wait 3 years or 5 years or 7 years and then they come back and you can reminisce. I mean, these guys are still in college.
Some other news includes Cowboys left tackle longtime Tyron Smith. He's officially retiring as a Dallas Cowboy after 14 seasons in the league. And the Bears, they signed TJ Edwards, their linebacker, to a new 2-year extension.
Well, I'm a big TJ Edwards fan. I have been since he was lighting up in the preseason for the Eagles, as an undrafted free agent. I could tell right away that he could play. You could tell at Wisconsin he could play. That was a bad job by the NFL not drafting him. And he just keeps making plays and playing at a high level for the Bears. So kudos to him. And for Tyron Smith, we never talk about guys like this enough when they retire. To do what he did for 14 years, I think you guys know how I feel about any guy that lines it up in the trenches that many years at that position and plays at that high of a level. Incredible amount of mental and physical toughness. I think we're done here.
I have been enjoying my Smirnoff vodka more and more this offseason. Certainly, we got spring break coming up for my daughters. That sounds like a really good Smirnoff crafting delicious cocktails time. There's not really much debate over who the number one pick's going to be. It's going to be Cam Ward to the Titans, just like Smirnoff is the world's number one vodka and my number one pick because you don't have to pay $1 zillion for it. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please not share with anyone under legal drinking age. All you need to know about Smirnoff is not only are they the official vodka of the NFL, they're the official vodka of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. These people have exquisite taste. Smirnoff, yum, get some.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. Mother's Day is going to be here before you know it. Can you please do me a favor? Do me a personal favor and get your mom or grandmother or your wife, I don't care, get them the best Mother's Day gift they've ever gotten at myfrontpagestory.com. We also love backofficescheduler.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture, and Pizza Boy Brewing.